Hey guys, Tyler Hansen here with PPC Foundry. I wanted to do a quick walkthrough of a basic setup for conversion actions, and this is for most accounts. So with Google Ads, we really want to focus on actionable conversions is what I call them. And so what that means is essentially what type of conversions are driving performance for your business, which that's typically going to be, we want to track if people are calling from the ad or from the website, or they're filling some kind of form, whether that be a booked appointment or different things like that. So let's walk through how we're going to set that up. So once you come into your Google Ads account, first thing you're going to do is in the tools and settings up here, I don't have that visible just because I'm protecting this client. We're actually setting this up for, but if you click tools and settings up here, you will see under measurement you have conversions. So let's click on that. That's going to lead you to this. So you're going to see this new conversion action. So typically I'll do the easiest one first, which we want to track calls from the ads. So I'm going to click phone calls, and then that's actually going to be the option right here, calls from ads using the call extension or call only ads. So I'm going to select that, click continue, and then I'm just going to name it that, or you can name it whatever moniker you want, but just making sure that you understand what that is. So calls from ads. All right. Typically for me, I do recommend putting a value behind this. This just helps Google really optimize based on the performance and weighs it differently. So you can have different conversion actions that have different weighted values. So whether you know a monetary amount, I typically will just do like 20 or 25 for phone calls. Sometimes phone calls mean more to you, so you can put it at a higher, like 100. But that's what I do. Just make sure you're using a system that makes sense for you, is basically what it is. There's no real guidance on that unless you have a specific amount, like I know I'm going to get this X amount of money. So call length as well, you can adjust this to whatever you think is necessary. So from here, I usually will just start off with 5 seconds. This will be something we update as over time. As we see, what is the average call length from this. So 5 seconds just gives us that, yep, someone made a call, and then we'll begin pushing that up a little bit just to get more qualified calls from there. And then right now, the attribution, Google's trying to do data driven. I'm not super comfortable with it just yet, so I'm still staying on position based. That's what I would recommend as of the time of this recording, but obviously I was the same way when position based came out, so that data driven will be good at some point. So that's pretty simple for this call from the ads. Again, you give it your name that you want to use, assign a value, or if you really don't want to, you don't have to put that. For me, I only want to count every time one person calls, and what this means is if someone calls and then calls that number again, it's only going to count it once. If you do everyone or every, then it's going to count every time that causes a conversion, which isn't necessarily ideal. So you'll get kind of duplicates with that. So we're going to create continue, and that's it. We're done on that. All right, and then so now we're going to do a new conversion action. We're going to do calls from website. So this is actually something I don't think a lot of people know, but we'll do it this way. And I know a lot of people use CallRail or some other call tracking software, which is really good. There's definitely use cases for that. For me, I just use the Google system here. There's downsides to it too. There's not as in-depth reporting or tracking with it, but it does work for the purposes of knowing that someone called from the website. So we're going to click that. We're going to do calls to a phone number on your website. So we're going to click continue. And then we will do that and just name it the same, calls from website, so I know that they were the call from the website. I'm going to use the conversion value that I set, which is 20. That's what I typically will use. So again, 1. So for the point of this demonstration, I'm just going to put our business phone number in here, but I will go back and change this. So essentially I always keep these two the same. I keep the syntax of it the same as well. So if this is how it looks on your website, or say on your website it looks like this or this, I always just keep it the same. I don't really know how Google does it. I just want it to always be the same throughout, just in case there is any issues. So however it's displayed, this is how I always make all my numbers look. So I just always keep the same format and just stick to that. So same thing here, I'll start off with 5 seconds, and I'm going to move the attribution model to position based. And we'll do another video on what actual attribution model means. So enter name, it's because I already set that up, so I'm just going to do version 2. All right, so now this is where we get into the nitty gritty. So for this instance, we're going to be using Tag Manager, which I think is the easiest way to do this. So we're going to get that conversion data from here. Not conversion data, sorry, the conversion ID and label. So I'm going to grab that. We're going to go to Tag Manager where we have this container set up already. So I'm going to set up the tag for this. So you can't see it up here because I have the screen blocked, but we're going to name this calls from website for the tag. All right, and then now we're going to do a search for calls, Google Ads calls. So this is an actual conversion action within Google Tag Manager. So we're going to select that, and then the same thing here, displayed phone number to replace. I'm going to put our business number. And then from here, once you have your business number in there, or the number that you want to track that's on the website, that's what Google is going to use to dynamically replace that number with a Google number, so that it can actually track when someone calls from the website. So you're just letting it know what that number is. So that's again why I keep everything looking the same, so make sure it looks the same on the website. Again, I'm sure Google is smart enough to figure that out, but just for sake of keeping errors out, I always do it the same. So now we just need to grab our conversion ID. So I'll come back to Google Ads here, grab that, go back to Tag Manager, pop that in, and then the same for the label. So let's go here, grab that label, we're going to pop that in there. All right, so now we want it to trigger. Now we want it to trigger on every page. So it's not a certain page. So basically we're just going to say all pages of the website where your Google Tag Manager is installed. We want this tag to fire off, which is going to replace the phone number. So up here in the top right, it says save. So we're going to click save. Bam. So now we have that. So now let's work on our next conversion action, which is going to be our form submission. So I'm just going to go ahead and start the tag from here in Tag Manager before we go back to Google Ads. So I'm just going to name this form submission, and then we'll start the tag configuration, which is I'm going to use the Google Ads conversion tracking. So we'll click that. So now again, we're going to have to go back to Google Ads and get that conversion action set up. So let's go ahead and go over there. We'll finish this out. Done. Perfect. All right, so now we're back on our conversion section here, so let's select a new conversion action. Okay, so now instead of being over here on the phone calls, we're going to go to website. So we're going to click on that. So this is Google's new conversion action where it's kind of manually doing things. I'm still bypassing this right now to use Tag Manager instead of this automated process. So basically you can just, when you get to this point, you can just put whatever in here. So I can literally just put example.com. It's going to scan it. It's going to do whatever. So basically we're going to skip all of this stuff and we're going to come down here to add a conversion action manually. So we're going to click on that and then bam, we get what we've been using here. Okay, so I'm going to select submit lead form as the goal and action. And then you can name this whatever you want, again, just as long as you know what it is. So say if it's like a booked appointment, different things like that. So conversion name, I'm just going to say submission form. And then for forms, I typically put these at 100 for my value system. Again, you can use whatever value that you want, just make sure that you're remaining consistent with that. And again, we're going to do 1 on this. Sometimes people will go to a website and submit a form a couple times. We don't want that. We don't want it to fire every time that goes. We only want it once. So from here, Okay, so we have it set to 1. You can adjust the click-through conversion window. So what this means is basically the cookie that drops into their browser from when they hit your website to if they ever come back to your website to convert. This is how long that cookie will last. And then, so again, I'm going to go to attribution model and change that to position based. So we'll click done. It's going to come back to this screen, and then from here you can see our goal has been set up. So we're going to click save and continue, and then now we will get to use the Google Tag Manager. So you can also do this to where if you're not using Tag Manager, you can get the event snippet here to use, or sorry, this is the global site tag that would need to be on every page of the site, and then down here you can see the event snippet. So this is where, in our situation, we're going to be using a thank you page. So on a page load that this event snippet would be on, so that when someone hits that page, it fires off to let Google Ads know, hey, a conversion just happened. So in this instance, Google Tag Manager is honestly easier to use, so that's what we use to do that. So we click over to use Google Tag Manager. Again, now we have our conversion ID, so I am going to head back to Google Tag Manager. I'm going to pop the ID into here. I am going to go back to Google Ads to get the label, which it doesn't say label on here, it just says whatever you named it, but this is the label right here below this. So we'll go back, pop that in. There's nothing technically you need to do here. This is just some more advanced stuff. Now we need to let it know when to trigger this tag to fire. So these are already the pre-made triggers that come in the account, so we need to add a custom one. So up here in the top right, there's a plus button that you can't see, but I'm just going to click on that. It's going to be a new trigger, so we're going to call this trigger the thank you page, because that's what we'll be using in our use case here. So now I'm going to click the tile here to set up that trigger. So we're going to do it based off a page view. There's many other things that you can do for clicks, different stuff like that. The easiest way is just to do a thank you page that when someone submits a form, it redirects to that thank you page on your website. So we'll click page view. We're going to do some page views because we're not trying to do all page views. We wanted to do some. And basically what we do from here is I use page URL and I keep it contains, and then all our thank you pages are this, thank you. And then sometimes there could be other, different things, thank you version 2, or other identifying things that you may have. But for the use case of this, as long as it has thank you and it's like this, as long as you use contains, it's gonna fire from that. And also be careful here too, because if you do like a capital or anything like that, it won't fire if your actual URL is lowercase, which a URL would be lowercase because it's not going to be case sensitive, but within Google Tag Manager it is. So make sure it has the same syntax throughout. All right, so now we have that, so let's save it. Bam. So now that's saved. We're going to save the tag. So now that's saved, so now we can see those here. So the last thing we need to do is do the Google Ads linker. So I'm going to set up another tag, and in the top left here I'm going to just name it linker. Now we'll do tag configuration, and then we're going to use this conversion linker right here. We don't need to do anything else, and then we're just going to do all pages. So basically this just helps it report back to Google and all the information that it needs. So this is just going to be on all pages. Boom, done. So, and the most important thing, which everyone sometimes forgets on Tag Manager, is you now have to submit the container, which is up here in the top right where it says submit. So we'll submit that, and it'll say publish. Click publish. You can leave notes if you want. Boom, we're done. So now come back to Google Ads. We'll finish this off. Great. Now we have all of our conversion tags, and these are pretty much the most common ones that you're going to use. They can definitely be other ones if you're using shopping or you want to measure different types of results that are actionable for you. But for the most part, for any type of lead generation, this is what we're going to see in accounts. We're going to have some type of form submission, whether that be a booked appointment, just a regular lead gen form or anything like that. We're going to have calls from the ads and then calls from the website that we want to measure. So hopefully you found this helpful, guys. If you have any questions, please drop a comment below, and we'll talk soon.